So we're going to talk today, we're going to talk about what XMPP is, where it kind of got its start, what it kind of does. And then we're going to talk about the project itself. We're going to do a demo. And then we're going to do a little bit of talk. And then if we have time, we'll talk a little bit about the extra little bits of things that I learned as we went through it. So first, what is XMPP? So XMPP started, the first official release was in '98 by this guy here. His name's Jeremy Miller. He and some friends were using ICQ to do messaging back in the day, and then they had another friend who got on AOL and was using AIM, and he wanted to continue to do the messaging between the two, but didn't realize he had to install two different clients to be able to do it. So he and some friends were doing some things using Perl script to be able to send messages back and forth between the clients. So a message would come in on ICQ, and they'd use Perl then to post that message over to AOL, and then back and forth. And he got the idea from this that it would be probably pretty easy to build an instant messaging system, and from that's what we have. XMPP itself stands for Extensible Messaging and Presence Protocol. In reality, what XMPP really is an XML streaming service. And there are a lot of extensions, a lot of things that people have done on top of XMPP. It's mainly used as a communication and messaging middleware for instant messaging. Most people are most familiar with it whenever they install one of these multi-chat clients. Like ADM and Pigeon, Trillion, that can do multiple protocols with it, multiple protocol chats across all of them. But it's very extensible, and people have used it for lots of different things, like using it as a PubSub service, which is a standard part of the protocol, using it for VoIP. They do video. There's lots of gaming messaging that goes on, so a lot of real-time in your MMOs that people are using it for gaming. It's become kind of the standard de facto standard framework for something they're calling the Internet of Things. So when people are making more and more devices that have sensors that need to communicate out with the larger web or with other services, XMPP seems to be the default protocol, the default messaging standard for that. And it also supports things like file transfer. Here's just a little example of what the XMPP looks like. So what happens when a client opens a connection to the server is that basically a long-lived session, XML session, is opened between the client and the server. It starts off with a stream, and then the first thing that goes out gives a presence message, and not providing it with any sort of attribute or anything like that with it would mean that the person is available for chat. And then default message would have things like who it's from, who it's to, the body of the message, and then you see that making it unavailable as part of that. In XMPP, this email address looking thing, which is called a JID, is used as the default way of communicating or knowing how to talk with different people. If you were to put a slash on the end of that, you would get, and there's be another string there that go onto that. That would become what we call a full JID, and that slash is a reference as a resource, names a resource. A user can have multiple resources to a single account, so that could be multiple devices, multiple clients, that could be message or services or other extensions that go to those. And then you can also set prioritization on those so that messages, if you use that full JID, if you go just without the slash, without just making it the simple JID on there, this would go to the top level service and then would go out to anyone who wanted to grab that message off of the service. Or you could specify specific, not go to that one, but be able to specify specific devices or that you wanted to be go to on your service. All right, so where can you get XMPP? There's a lot of different places that you can go to get it, but the most common place where you can learn more about it is xmpp.org. There's a whole class of different servers that are written in different languages that are available. Some are free, commercial. There's free, there's commercial, there's open source ones that are available. Same thing with clients and a whole host of different libraries in different languages, JavaScript, Java, Erlang, C, C++, class of libraries that are available out there to be able to use. And the clients vary as well on the different services or the different features that they're able to provide for you on that. In the Alfresco Rumors project, what we're trying to do, the goal is to enable Alfresco nodes to be able to talk and listen to XMPP events. This is not the only use case, but this is the one that I wanted to start with as part of that. The initial features that I wanted to work on is notifications of changes. So once you have enabled a node to work as an XMPP node in Alfresco, we wanted to be able to send notifications of changes to anyone who's subscribed to that one. We also wanted to be able to make sure that anyone who's commented on the node, whether it's from a chat client or within Alfresco, that message would be sent to the various parties and would be persisted in Alfresco so you have a record or a history of the discussion that's going on around the client. We also want to be able to support file upload from that, and also have a command structure so that you would be able to communicate with the node and be able to get different information about the node from that one, from it. So the way that it's basically set up is that there's an XMPP server in the middle that acts as our broker between those. Alfresco then is a receiver on those, and then you have your set of clients that it's all talking to. In reality, the way that everything works together is basically Alfresco has 0 to n number of clients that are also talking to the server, and those other clients are servers. So it's just another client or a host for multiple clients there within Alfresco. And there's lots of different models, and we'll talk about some of those, the different types of possibilities of things that you can do with that one. For my development purposes, what I used was Alfresco Community 4.2. We're using the OpenFire, which is a Java-based open source server, XMPP server that's available from Jive Software. Originally, it was Ignite Realtime was the company or the service behind it, and Jive bought them. We're also using the SMAC library. It's a Java library as the client for that one. And we're using Adium as the main client, but we're also going to show you Spark, which is another chat client as part of the demo for this as well. So that's what we're going to work. So now we're just going to kind of switch over to a demo to talk a little bit about how things work. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over here. We're going to fire up my Alfresco instance. Okay, so first I'm going to start up the repository. There's a couple things as we go through, get this started up. So this is community. Don't worry about what's on the screen right here. What we're after a little bit is more what happens. So I have a couple of nodes that are already subscribed, and I have a chat client that's open to go through this. So one of the first things that goes through whenever it starts up, it looks to see which nodes are enabled. It goes and does a canned query to be able to find those nodes. And then it's going to start up a client for those. And that client is going to have a listener to listen for different communication, different chat sessions that are going on. And it's also going to have a file transfer messenger as part of that. And there's going to be 2 nodes that are doing that one. As this is just a POC kind of thing, a proof of concept that this would work and that this would do, all of these clients exist within the Alfresco server. You can see right there, my nodes have started up. My chat client has received notification then that Alfresco is up, and there are nodes that we can talk to as part of this. Not really a lot, or going back to the clients are all in the same JVM, all running in the same thing. That might not scale very well as we start looking at hundreds of nodes or thousands of nodes that might have this connection going on with it. But that's something to see over time how well that might scale. Okay, so our Alfresco server's up. We're going to switch over to start share, which will take a little bit just a little bit of time. Let me open up, this is the ADM client on Mac. You can see I have two connections here. If you look right here, if I hover over them, the coins.jpg is just the simple name. It's actually the file name for it. But if you actually look at the actual name, that's actually the UUID from the node ref that's there. So when a node is subscribed, or when you enable a node, there's a couple things that are happening. There's a set of communication that goes on with the XMPP server to create a user account for the node, and then also then add the user who enabled the node to the roster of the user, and then vice versa, the node to the user's roster. And then there's also the ability for a user to come afterwards once one's been enabled, and also to be able to subscribe to that node. And there's some communication that goes back and forth as part of that as well. And we'll talk about the extensions that had to go on as part of that. So share is up. So we're going to go ahead and log into our server. Give it a second here to log in. There's a couple of modifications we had to make, and we'll talk about those as part of this. One is changing the user profile so that the user's able to say what their XMPP user account is, and then be able to add some actions to that as well. So I'm going to switch over here as the admin user. Okay. Let's jump into our site. We're just using the default standard site here. Make sure this is going to fit in the screen. Resize that. Okay, so just right here in this page right here that we're going to look at first. So one of the things we added was an indicator that says that something has been XMPP enabled, and that's just that little icon right there, so we can know that that node has been enabled. We also see that there's a couple comments on there as part of this as well. So that is one of our XMPP enabled nodes. Let's go ahead and take a look at that file. Okay, so here's our file here. We can also see an action right here to disable it. So once it's been enabled, you have an action to be able to disable it. The disable functionality is only available to site managers, to the Alfresco administrator, and to the user who enabled the node. So any other user won't be able to go in and disable the node. And we have some different information about that node. Okay, so we're going to go over here to our ADM client. We're going to go to that same file. Here we see the coins.jpg. And we're just going to send us a message. Okay. This is Parker. Okay, so we've added in a simple message right there to that. If we refresh the page here, see that our comment count has gone up to 4, and we can see that the latest comment now is this is Parker as part of that. So we have a communication going back and forth to the node right there as part of that. All right, now we're going to add a comment. All right. We're going to just do as Parker says hello. We add a comment there. Give it a second. Hope the communication should go back. All right, maybe not. We'll see. But the message should have gone back. We'll see what's going on here, and we'll try something really quick. All right. That message didn't go. We'll do it on a new one here in a second. So now we have just a couple of things. Let's say, for example, we're going to add a new file to this one. Update the image. If we can type, upload the file. Here we go. Here we've got our notification over here. We can see that we've had a notification now that someone has uploaded the file through the browser, and we get a notification that the file was updated, who updated, and the version number that was going through that one. Now, let's say then this was someone else who has made this change to that. We want to be able to see the file. So we're going to issue a command to that file. It's going to offer us to download that file. We'll go ahead and download it, tell it where we're going to save it. And we can see there that open the file. It's the same file. So we're able to download the files as well, doing a transfer manager. It's part of that. I think I know why that failed before. OK. Now let's say that's not really the image that we wanted to put up there. We want to actually a different image that we wanted to put in there. Yeah, we'll do that one. We want to update the image. Okay, there's our new image. I'm going to send that over to Alfresco. We can see that we got our notification that it was updated. We have a new version as well, and if we refresh this page again, we'll now see that updated through the browser, or through our IM client as part of that as well. So this is just some simple communication that's going on between that. So every node then is enabled to be able to do that, or every node can be enabled to do that. So let's actually go and set up use a new user to do the same thing. All right, we have a different client here. This is a Spark client. Sure, remember its password. Okay, you can see it doesn't have any contacts in there. We're going to go ahead and log in here as that user. He's also a member of that same site, so we're going to go into that site for him. Okay, he's a little bit more into with his other work that he needs to be able to do, and he wants to enable an XMPP node. Oh, and it failed. Oh, and the reason why it failed is we need to update our profile. So one of the things that we've added is to be able to add this is be able to go through and edit or change our user profile there. So I'm going to go ahead and edit the user profile. Okay. Now, go back to our site. I'm going to enable this other file. All right. So that hop up right there. So now we have a new message, and we have enabled this document now for communication. For this one, same things works. Okay, so this is a test. And if we run back over there to that document, or just to this page, we'd see now that the number of comments on that document has gone up. Same thing can go with if he were to go to another one of these nodes and comment on it. Use budget, which is our Excel spreadsheet. Figures look good. Add a comment there. And again, we have a message then that this user, whose name is test, said and what they said. Right now it has some HTML in there. There's some differences in how we have to be able to parse. Comments within Alfresco are actually stored as HTML snippets. So, and XMPP, to be able to do that, we need to be able to go through and parse those and change how the message body is sent to be able to go and configure and change those as part of that. So so that just shows a little bit of the integration between the two. All right. So how is this put together? Wait for that to go away. Okay, so the first thing we needed to do is we needed to change the model. We needed to be able to extend the person model. So we added an XMPP user and an XMPP user string attribute to the CM person node. We also need to be able to extend the CM content node with an XMPP node aspect. We have a password, which is a generated password. It's encrypted and stored on the node so that no one will be able to go through and be able to see the see what that randomly generated password is. We keep the list of the roster, which is a collection, but we've done them in pairs. And so in that pair, what we have is the username do we have the username and their user account name, so the Alfresco username and the account name, and then when we specify who the owner is of that content in the node. So going back to look at this, we have our communication. We have streaming communication then from the Alfresco server through the XMPP server to the clients as part of that, and then back from the clients through the XMPP server to Alfresco. Now the XMPP server could be extended. We could add in listeners into the XMPP server so that we could actually capture all content from all of our chats that's going through the XMPP server, and we could actually then add in a plugin. Plugins, what they call them on the OpenFire server, and we would be able to then persist all of the communications. So if we're someone like Jamie Dimond, who yesterday told all of his London-based employees for JP Morgan that we're involved in 9 different investigations into our behavior, stop BSing on instant message. They can track, for discovery purposes, all of that information in their instant messaging clients, or through their instant messaging service, and we could do the same thing with Alfresco. We could take all that information that's going over our chat clients, persist that into Alfresco, declare those as records, and then keep those as part of the history of communication through there. Now, we're going to break down a little bit of what the pieces are in here. So the first thing, the core thing that we have in here is an XMPP service, which then stores all of our clients. The XMPP service is used to talk to a behavior or our policy, which looks for different changes. When a file is updated, what properties are being updated on that? Is it being moved? Is it being deleted? Since delete send notifications, if it's moved, the user needs to know what the new location is for that node. We also have a set of web scripts to be able to do that. We have ones that allow us to be able to send messages to that one, so we can extend. So we can have other non-XMPP enabled systems be able to talk to Alfresco and send messages out to that one, or to our clients. We can enable or disable our nodes in Alfresco, and we can add users to that roster. If we dig a little bit farther into it, how the communication occurs. So we have our collection of XMPP clients, which is held in the servers, and we have we also have this OpenFire client, which is a REST client that talks back to a user plugin within the XMPP server. Because we would need to be able to we need to dynamically create new users for every node, or for every node in the XMPP server. We also need to be able to clean those up and remove those as part of that, and be able to manipulate that from the Alfresco service. And so there was a plugin. It's called the user plugin. It's an HTTP-based request. It's not true REST. It's one of the things that should be cleaned up as part of that. Within each of those clients, as I mentioned earlier, we have a connection, which is listening for all of the messages that comes through. We actually can let the connection manager manage all of the communication. So anytime anyone opens or tries to send messages to that one, it's managing all of that. It's managing each thread for each of those connections that's going through, so we don't have to worry about managing any of those. When we have a new one come in, it goes in and figures out, is there already a connection? If we're sending a message, is there already a connection open to that one? And it reuses that one for us, so we don't have to manage any of the bits of that. As well as for the file transfer manager, which manages all of the sending and receiving of files. We just have to reuse the listener or create a listener in there for those as part of that one. Now, there's a set of to-dos that we need that I need to do as part of this. One's the roster web script needs to have more CRUD. So right now it's just using for adding users, but we need to be able to list who the users are. So we need to be able to update those users. Maybe their XMPP username has changed. We need to change that information. We also need to be able to delete those from that one. Right now, the notifications and the behavior are just a standard set, but we may find out that there are specific properties, or we might have a specific set of properties that we want to notify users of, or custom properties where we add an aspect to it. We want to know if someone's updated those properties, so we can go through that one and have the administrator be able to say, these are the ones I want to be able to listen to, or even have a user be able to say, on this node, I'm interested about these things that get updated. as part of that. It could also be that we have another system that's not, it doesn't necessarily have to be a user. We have another system that needs to be notified when properties update. And so we can send messages to another server that has, or through XMPP to another system that might be wanting to know when those things are changing in Alfresco and when to know when they're changing in real time. We need to simplify how commands are added so that people can add custom commands into those. Right now, as I showed you, there's just the download command, but we may want to be able to have other sorts of commands to be able to send there. Maybe have the user be able to delete the file directly from their XMPP client, or be able to manage who is subscribed to that node if they're the owner of that. Get a list of the properties that are available, or the metadata as it's changing, or the full list of metadata on that. XMPP could be moved farther out. We can move XMPP not to be a node-based service or as part of this, but actually help us manage the server. So we could have a set of commands that are all about managing the server. If you were the system administrator and we want to know about any of our JMX properties, any of our anything that are going on with the system, what's the file space that's left on the system? Are we running out of file space? Who's actually logged into the system? Do we need to remove somebody from the system? Be able to manage it through that one. And so we want to simplify how we add those commands, refactor it so that we can, people can create custom commands and be able to add those in there. We also need to be able to test scaling. So as I mentioned, each of these clients is happening all within the same JVM, all within the Alfresco runtime. Alfresco right now is already pretty I/O intensive, and we need to make sure that we manage, or let Alfresco manage its stuff. And as we add more clients onto that one, what kind of effect does it have on the service? What's the best model? Should what we have instead is a standalone application that's talking to Alfresco that then contains all of these clients, and then uses something like Seamless to be able to talk back to the server, to Alfresco, and Alfresco back to it using some sort of RESTful interface. We need to modify the message web scripts. Right now, the classes also allow us to be able to exclude who we send messages to. So we may be able to get the list of roster of our users, but there may be certain people, maybe in a group, maybe people who have subscribed to it, but we don't need. They're not part of the the management of whatever this file is, and we need to be able to exclude them from messages. Our model may be also that we just want to have the PubSub as well, so that people can just subscribe to it, just get published information about it, but never have the ability to chat back to it. And we need to rework this user service client that I've made to talk back, or we need to rework the user plugin that's in Jive to make it more RESTful. Right now, everything is a GET, and you're passing all your parameters as part of the string, and so it could be reworked to make it a little bit more RESTful friendly. Now, some of the extensions that we could also add into this, or what could be possible, there's an extension to XMPP that's called Jingle. Jingle is all about peer-to-peer session control. It's about multimedia. It's part of, you can do extended file transfer. It allows VoIP, so we could do VoIP sessions, screen sharing. We can do video chat, video conferences through Alfresco, through XMPP to clients. So we have a group of editors who are all working on a document. We need to be able to have a discussion about that. We can use Jingle Jingle would be the extension that we use to be able to enable that. Go in, start, instead of going to Google doing a Hangout, you go to the node, you have your discussion there. All of your chat then is persisted back and associated back to that node, so you have that history of your conversation. You could also then record the video or the audio as portions of that as well, all through that one. One of the cool things about Jingle right now is it also supports WebRTC. So it's an up-and-coming standard, so browsers will natively support audio and video. As part of that one, it's currently in Chrome and Firefox are the two main ones on that one. IE doesn't support it yet. But we had, at the hackathon on Monday, we had a couple of guys work together, and they built a video conferencing application on top of Alfresco using WebRTC and Node.js for that communication. So there's there is proof that it can work. We need to be able to take the time to be able to go to do that, to extend that one. Jingle is also, this extension to that is also based off of how Google has done Google Talk. It's a modified version. So Google Talk is also based off of XMPP. They use Jingle. They modified it a little bit, so it's not a 100% match. It got modified even more when they did Hangouts as part of that one. One of the other cool things about XMPP, or about XMPP services, it also supports federation. So people who are outside of your system, so you can have an alfresco.com XMPP service, you can federate it or allow it to be able to join to talk to people who are in other domains, other XMPP services. The big thing about Google at the beginning of the year when Hangouts came is that they turned off their federation service. So people who are on other XMPP services aren't able to talk to Gmail users, or if you have an enterprise account, you're not able to talk across those because they turned off federation across those. But there are still possibilities for others that you'd be able to do that one. Cisco's collaboration framework is all based off of this one. A couple of years ago, Cisco bought the original company, Jabber, to do that one, and they've been building all of their collaboration platform off of this. They also use it for their Internet of Things, which we'll talk about in a little bit. There's another extension into the XMPP protocol that supports forms, so data forms. So you'd be able to, as part of that, maybe on our file upload, one of the things that it would be possible is when you upload the file, Alfresco sends back a form, and the user is then able to fill out version. This is a major or minor version number, put a comment on that as well. Maybe they want to update a set of properties, and we have constraints, a data list that we want them to be able to choose from, to be able to choose those. So we'd be able to send back data forms to those. And just kind of one of the administration forms to that one is that every user can also have vCard, so there's vCard support in there as well. And this is an example of what one of the forms looks like. So it's just an HTML form that's sent back. The user is able to send it. They're able to then post that over to it, and whatever is the receiving end can take that information and process that as part of that one. Another extension that we could use is that it also supports multi-user chat. So what we've seen is just a single user-to-user, but we could go site-wide. We could start or site-wide or node per node, be able to enable multi-user chat as part of that, and be able to record and persist those conversations as part of that one. We'd also be able to set up presence and be able to use presence across that one. So if a user's logged into Alfresco or not logged into Alfresco but logged into their XMPP client, we could let other users know that they're online, available, and be able to communicate directly from Alfresco into that one. We could also then share that presence notification across desktop clients, or as I said, in the browser, or even to a mobile client. So, if they're on their mobile device, they would be able to still receive messages, and people would be able to know that they're online and available. We talked about some of the messaging things, PubSub activities and activity feeds. So we could set up the activity feeds to be able to be PubSub, and people will be able to receive messages of all the activities that are going on directly on their desktop without having to be directly in Alfresco in real time. Could see cross-application messaging, so real-time communication for that one. So it doesn't have to actually be, a person on the end of this. It could be a system that to do that. And we also need to be able to support inbound messaging. So we talked a little bit about the JP Morgan example, but we'd be able to take all of that information that's going through an XMPP server and persist that back into Alfresco. And the administrative side of that, so be able to provide server status as a part of that one. So I grew up in the southern part of the United States in New Orleans, and we have a word called lanyap. And this is some of the extra bits as part of this. Some of the things I learned. One of the things we wanted, or one of the things I wanted as this was coming up, is that when the server starts and it finds all those nodes, I want that to be able to start when that XMPP node service started. So what I've used is a canned query in there. It's called get nodes with Aspect, and it does a query directly against the database. It skips through Lucene and Solr, whatever the backups. Whatever the indexing part of that one, so it starts up that one. The reason why I did that is because there's no guarantee when Alfresco comes up that Solr is available. as part of that one. So I wanted to make sure that even if Solar wasn't available, that we'd still be able to start the service as part of that one. So it's pretty easy. We put in an init method into our Spring Bean to be able to call the method that does that one. Now, canned queries, they have a couple of things we want to be able to do with that one. It has a factory to generate those. We need to be able to specify the registry that has all of these canned SQL queries in it in Alfresco. And then that bottom one, we also have a level of security that we want to be able to apply with those. Now, the registry is pretty simple. It just has a storage type, and you're just using the canned query factory to be able to do that one. And you can just copy and paste that one, or you could reference one of the other existing canned query factory beans, the registry beans in there. Now, the XMPP node security, it works a little bit different than the other security interceptors or method interceptors in Alfresco. In this case, what you do is you specify the service that you want it to act like. In this case, we want it to act like the service, and the method name is hasAspect. So this maps it back to just as if we were writing a method security interceptor, our own custom one, and we want to specify the ACLs or what permissions a method should use or check. This one says this one should act as this node. Canned queries then are pretty easy. We want to be able to say what store we're going against, so you don't have to go against the workspace store. You could also go and query against the archive store if you're looking for stuff that's been archived out of Alfresco. A set of queue names, and then the paging request, how you want that information to come back to you, the page size that you're going to work with. Now, one of the interesting things that I ran into with this is that if we're running this at a init, in this case, you can't guarantee that that on a new system that the schema has been created. So if I started from scratch, installed this from new, and Alfresco was starting up, it didn't, all of the services loaded, but the schema hadn't been created yet, and it failed over and over again. So the solution for that was to create a subsystem. So we moved everything in the subsystem. We move all of our service into our subsystem. We reference out then another one that does our web scripts, because web scripts can't be part of a subsystem because they don't get reloaded whenever if you stop and start a subsystem, and we're able to work around the problem. The next is a custom user profile. Modifying the user profile in Alfresco is not very straightforward. It requires some modifications to core classes, or you can extend some different core classes to this one. Jeff Potts wrote a blog post for 4.0, and it more or less still applies to 4.2. A couple different things that need to be able to do, different methods that need to be overridden. One is how the user is constructed in the save user. In the save construct user, you're just going to, you just need to put what property it is that you're pulling out or what property you need to use. In save user, you need to be able to say what fields from that form that they're filling out. In our case, we saw the XMPP username field. What fields need to be added to our map that then get saved back. And then that presentation level is handled through a web script. And so to be able to say which ones, when it goes and it queries, well, we need to know what aspect, what properties also need to be displayed up there. So you need to modify your profile.js. If you modify the user profile, you have to verify across versions that things haven't changed. Otherwise, you will break something, because things will get modified or changed as we improve that and look more towards how we can better make that extensible. So here, once we have that, we've made those modifications, we're going to change in our Slingshot, custom Slingshot context. We're going to change what the user factory is, what the web framework, because this is actually coming out of not Spring Social. This is coming out of Surf, so we need to be able to say how the users are what specifies how the user factory, how the users are created and presented, what classes using those. And then we also need to be able to say that we want to use that being. So first we override or be able to provide it out of our factory base, and then we want to tell the config that this is the one that it needs to use now as part of that one. Okay, how much time? All right, we've got about 10 minutes left. Do you have any questions about XMPP or integrations with Alfresco, possibilities of different things that could be done with it? How many people actually use XMPP as a messaging protocol? A couple people. Do you think this would be useful, being able to hook Alfresco into that system? Yeah? Okay.
So you're establishing nodes in Alfresco as users in XMPP.
Yes.
And when you want to talk back to users, you're creating a single user chat from that node to the user. And you start a bunch of clients on startup. So are you establishing an XMPP session for each notifiable node on the startup and then persisting that session through the lifespan of the Alfresco server? Or were you only connecting to the XMPP server when you want to send something?
Good question. So I'm just starting the client. So I'm not going out and creating sessions for each of those. I'm coming up, I'm starting the client, telling the server that I'm online, and then the server is looking through the roster for that user and sending out presence notifications to all of those users to say, hey, this user is now online. So the server is creating the connections, or at least the ability to create connections. So it's just sending out a presence stanza to any clients who have that user in their roster.
Thanks.
Okay. Any other questions?
Notification is something that would be useful for all sorts of different transport protocols and so on. Are there any plans to push that into its own thing so that maybe you could choose to be notified about nodes via XMPP or I don't know, Twitter, or various other different means, or perhaps WebSockets might push stuff out to a custom-built website or something. So
right now,
extracting that out to a sort of core notification system.
Yeah. Right now, I don't know if there's anything in core Alfresco to be able to do that. We have the activity feed service, but it's definitely something that could be looked at as a custom extension into Alfresco to go and federate and get all of this notification information and give the user the ability to specify, I need this set of notifications to go out through a WebSocket out to whatever on that one. Right now, I'm just focusing on XMPP as part of that one. XMPP is pretty robust in that there's lots of people using it for a lot of different things for notifications in JavaScript. Thinking about JavaScript in particular, you can send notifications on all sorts of stuff. Because this is a stream, it's a constant connection between the clients through this intermediary server as part of that one. You could build collaboration interfaces with this one. So kind of like how you have Google Docs and you see where a user is on that one, you could be sending out information and updating the DOM across those, sending these notifications over XMPP to that one. Twitter used to support XMPP as part of their notification system, used to be able to subscribe and be able to get stuff through that one. XMPP didn't scale very well for them at the time because most of it was all Ruby-based, and so it didn't scale, and it was a lower priority in the scheme of things, and so they made a business decision to shut it off or turn it off. But notifications in general, policy behavior, figure out a set of standard ways of being able to say this is the set of notifications, this is the set of properties or whatever that somebody needs to be able to be notified about, and what standard, what checkbox they need to go to be able to format it for the right thing. I like XMPP because it's a well-defined format that can be used across a lot of different things. Any other questions? Oh, all right. Well, thank you very much. Hopefully this would be useful. You guys could see some use of this in the future. You can find the project at GitHub. It's on there. It's called Alfresco Rumors right now. And then any of the other open source stuff is at Ignite real time as part of that. And thank you very much.